Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Sofia Roilidou, and I'm presenting on behalf of my colleagues Georgiadou and Maria Skiada our small-scale research project titled A Game-Based Approach to Teaching Greek as a Foreign or Second Language. In recent decades, there has been a growing recognition of the power of games in language learning. Game-based learning, or GBL, is gaining traction as an effective alternative to purely traditional teaching methods. Why? Because the benefits are significant. GBL is known to boost learner engagement, enhance motivation, and contribute positively to emotional well-being. GBL transforms the classroom dynamic. It creates an interactive, low-stress environment that naturally fosters participation, communication, and creative thinking. It's important here to distinguish GBL from gamification. Gamification involves adding game-like elements such as points or badges to non-game contexts. GBL, on the other hand, is about the full integration of game mechanics and meaningful interaction. This holistic approach supports deeper cognitive and emotional involvement in the learning process. So, why specifically use games for language learning? Games are powerful tools. They significantly boost learner motivation and encourage persistence, which are crucial for the often long journey of language acquisition. They inherently promote collaboration and communication among students, key elements in developing fluency. Furthermore, games can reduce learning anxiety, build confidence, and provide a platform for practicing real-life communication skills in a supportive setting. Now, while play is often associated with childhood, research strongly supports integrating game-based strategies into adult education as well. Adults, just like younger learners, benefit immensely from learning contexts that are experiential, socially interactive, and emotionally rewarding. Games offer adults a safe and engaging space to experiment with new language, receive immediate feedback, and practice without the fear of failure that can sometimes accompany more traditional methods. So yes, play is definitely not just for children. Of course, not just any game will do. Effective implementation of GBL requires careful game selection. Key criteria include matching the game to specific learning objectives, providing crystal clear instructions and rules, and using simple, adaptable materials to ensure inclusivity. It's also vital to avoid excessive competition, emphasizing instead participation and collaboration, and incorporating reflection or follow-up tasks to solidify learning. This brings us to the aim of our study. We sought to design a custom board game, which we named Rally Acropolis. The primary goal was to help beginner-level learners of modern Greek review vocabulary from a specific chapter of their textbooks. A secondary objective was to support the development of learners' planning strategies, decision-making skills, and color recognition. And here it is, Rally Acropolis. As you can see, we aimed for a visually engaging design. The game was inspired by the commercial game Monza, but was specifically adapted and redesigned to meet our educational goals. The design itself was developed by the first author using instructions generated with ChatGPT and then manually refined using photo editing tools. This game and others of this type is planned to be included in the Greek Lingo box, a box with 20 language games that will be produced in 2026 in the frame of the Greek Lingo box project funded by the European Commission. Let me briefly explain how Rally Acropolis works. The game features 6 cars and a track with squares containing vocabulary words. There are 6 colors in the game: red, yellow, blue, green, white, and purple. Though on the virtual dice we used, white was represented as pink. There were also gray squares that act as obstacles. The main goal is straightforward. Be the first player to drive your car around the track and reach the finish line. When it's a player's turn, they roll 6 colored dice. They then use the colors shown on the dice in any order they choose to move their car forward to adjacent squares of the corresponding color on the track. Strategic thinking is encouraged as players need to consider the order of colors to maximize the advance. Gray obstacle squares cannot be passed through. If a player lands on a square already occupied, the car that was there moves back one space. Crucially, upon reaching their final square for that turn, the player must make a sentence using the Greek word on that square. The first car to the finish line wins. If multiple cars finish simultaneously, the winner is the one who used the fewer dice colors during the game. Our participant group consisted of 6 adult learners all over the age of 50, studying beginner-level modern Greek. They were from the USA, one group of 3, and Spain, another group of 3, and the 2 groups had online sessions to play the game separately. The study followed a 3-phase procedure. First, a pre-game briefing and collection of informed consent. Second, the implementation of the Rally Acropolis game in a 30-minute online session for each group. And third, a post-game evaluation using a questionnaire. All procedures adhered to ethical guidelines for educational research, including GDPR compliance. To gather our data, we used a few key instruments. Quantitative data on the game's usability and the player experience was collected using the MEGA Plus questionnaire, a standardized tool for evaluating educational games. Qualitative insights were gathered through systematic observation during gameplay, focusing on aspects like language control and problem solving. And of course, the custom-designed Rally Acropolis board game itself was central to the intervention. What did we find? Regarding usability, the game received high marks. Participants were generally very satisfied with the visual design, the clarity of the rules, and the overall ease of use. The font and color scheme were particularly praised for consistency and integration. However, there was some feedback requesting even clearer initial instructions and improved visibility for certain elements, like the white color on the board and the dice roll in the online format. The player experience was also largely positive. Participants reported that the game was engaging and that completing tasks provided a sense of satisfaction and achievement. The social and collaborative aspects were highly valued, with many noting they enjoyed interacting with their peers. Most feel it was a useful tool for learning vocabulary and constructing sentences. Some participants did suggest that the challenge level could be increased or that more sessions would be beneficial to fully grasp the game's potential. Participants found the game fun, engaging, and helpful for learning vocabulary and building speaking confidence. They appreciated the colorful design and sentence-building tasks. However, some struggled with unclear instructions and dice use, suggesting written guidelines and better color choice. Overall, the game was seen as a valuable supplement to traditional language learning, especially with repeated play and clear guidance. In conclusion, our study indicates that Rally Acropolis was a motivating, inclusive, and effective tool for these adult learners of Greek. It supports the broader evidence that well-designed educational games can significantly enhance vocabulary retention, cognitive flexibility, and communication skills, even in an online adult learning context. However, we acknowledge limitations, primarily the small sample size and the single-session implementation. For future work, we aim to involve more learners and explore how GBL can be applied to other language skills beyond vocabulary and basic sentence construction. Here are the references cited in our work that can be seen and studied in the written paper. And I'd like to thank the students who participated, as well as the dedicated educators working to make Greek language learning more engaging and accessible. Thank you all for your attention and interest in our project, and I'll now be happy to take any questions. Thank you.